Meet Yoshitaka Amano, a Japanese illustrator capable of taking the most masculine of worlds and embodying them with a divinely feminine touch. It is that touch that fits the world of Zelda, hence the reason why we decided to study his style to draw this. This is called soul swapping, breaking down styles to its raw essence and applying that to equally iconic characters, helping you find your art style and also helping you define what makes a character unique. Now the first part of soul swapping is to study the character thoroughly, beyond just copying the character design sheets. I broke this down to 3 steps. Starting with the first, our priority is to study the likeness and proportions of a character and even facial expressions. The second step is to study all the poses of a character, treating each character like a living person and how they interact with their environment. Now the last step is experimentation, seeing how far we could push its design without it losing its core appeal. In terms of Link, we pushed the flow and the size of his hat, the structure of his face, which translates into how he handles light and shadow. We began translating AMANOS' divinely feminine style with Link's hair, taking the forms of his hair that define his silhouette and capturing it with the same mastery that Yoshitaka Amano had, flowing like clouds that stop in motion, with strategic fine strokes that make it so hard to tell if his hair is even outlined, particularly where his hair meets his head with the roots. And this outline feature translates even to how you capture faces in Amano style. Very little outline, if any, but what he lacks in outline, he makes up for with a touch of color. Now you know what they say, where the head goes, the body follows. And the way Amano approaches bodies is masterfully done. It must have taken thousands upon thousands of figure drawings to understand the contour of the body to this level. And it's with that same level we're approaching to draw Link. It took 3 different versions to fully explore Link in Yoshitaka Amano's Final Fantasy art style. Each of them had their own focus, but our goal was to keep the key features of Link absolute. Starting with the close-up. Focusing on the close-up first allowed us to hyper-analyze even the smallest details of Amano's works, and how it varies depending on exactly what he's trying to accomplish. This piece was inspired by Amano's iconic pose, which is on the cover of his Disguise art book, as well as Furion's iconic pose. Now the biggest challenge was approaching the composition with the same intensity that rivals Amano's capabilities. Using the 80-20 rule, I focused 80% of my time on the initial sketch, trying to keep Link consistent with his overall look. Looseness was the rule of thumb that guided me during this entire process, and I kept that same looseness as I approached color. And then I realized it's one thing to sketch like Amano, and it's a completely another ballgame to try to render like him as well. He renders solely traditional, and here I feel like I fell short with that specifically. So guess what I did for my next attempt? No, not traditional, but we did another iconic Yoshitaka Amano style, using digital acrylics. Now there's no successful soul swap without redesigning the character just like the artist would, and that's what we did for our last attempt. How far can we push the design using Yoshitaka's visual language without losing the soul of Link? We even took it a step further and designed Link's key weapons and fused them all into one. Sword, shield, and bow. Can't have Final Fantasy without fantastical weapons. We have to thread carefully about redesigning to avoid drastically changing his silhouette and taking away too much from his character. Now, Link is ready to take on a fantasia of enemies, and so are we with your help. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to drop a thumbs up and comment what you think about this soul swap. We didn't just stop at Link for this video, we also swapped some key characters as well, including the legendary big badass, Ganon. And what's a warrior without his princess, so you know we have to do something for Zelda too. Everybody's favorite green G, nah, not Nasty Nork, but Ganon, the main villain of the Zelda series, with several different designs, all of them with their own unique traits. We combined the most iconic designs that look similar just for the soul swap, focusing on his trident as a style point. This soul swap's biggest challenge was maintaining his silhouette and expression. The cape was added to add mysteriousness from his other designs to this one. In terms of references for the final drawing, I combined some assets from Gilgamesh and X-Death, and furrowed his eyebrows that usually connect with his beard to make the shape of devil horns. Using Yoshitaka's style of added cursive structures that amplify villains' evil silhouettes. Believe it or not, the hardest soul swap to tackle for this one was Zelda, with little room for error due to the fact that the way Yoshitaka captures femininity is completely unmatched. So you know I had to study her to a T just to get the essence of what makes Zelda, you know, Zelda. This is the character sheet that shows our introduction into studying Zelda in Yoshitaka's style. But we're going to save it for a complete swap in a different video, as well as our first environment and composition swap. And we want you to tag along. Join our Audioverse Discord server in the description below. This concludes the first video of the Zelda Soul Swap, featuring Link as a Final Fantasy character. Stay odd and don't forget to hit the subscribe.